Hey, what is going on, SMT Nation? It's your boy, the SMT. I've got it feels like a dozen pieces of news coming out of T-Mobile. I want to get to all of them, and I want to do it in a decent amount of time. I don't want to take up too much time in this video. But, yeah, let's go ahead and get started. First piece of news coming out of T-Mobile today. T-Mobile launches a venture capital fund to invest in startups building 5G-related technologies. So T-Mobile is going to use this opportunity to raise funding and to focus research on developing companies in 5G innovation markets. And I think what they're aiming to do is basically kind of help jumpstart, 5G development. So all the different applications and all the different purposes. CTO of T-Mobile, Neville Ray, was quoted as saying this is a multi-year, multi-million-dollar fund project. Along with its 5G Innovation Lab, this will also feature development in edge computing, IoT, and security applications. Neville Ray also detailed the goal to finish 2.5 gigahertz national 5G midband deployment goal by the end of 2021. So we got a nice little tidbit of what they're trying to do there. This obviously is going to require a huge investment by T-Mobile, big-time money. I'm not sure about it's a very ambitious goal, I think, what he's saying here. Based on the current guidance and the current capex, I'm not sure how realistic that really is. In the $9 to $10 billion range, I just don't see it happening. Even if they are to allocate most of the funding that they have to move away from, new builds and to move away from upgrades and modernizations and other aspects of the network, I just don't know if it's realistic. The concept of taking from Peter to pay Paul in this case could lead to issues in other areas of the network too. So, with no new builds and no new tower sites and not really focusing on small cell development, I don't know exactly where they're going with this. We'll just have to wait and see. So, they've got limited non-2.5 gigahertz site modernizations if they decide to only focus on 2.5. That's what kind of concerns me. Whenever, you look at, network upgrades and network modifications and modernizations, it's a lot. This definitely seems like it's a very ambitious goal. We'll have to see how it plays out. But he was quoted as saying that. So, they do a lot of simple overlays with proper decommissions and the removal of old equipment. It's more time consuming and it's more expensive. So that's why I have my concerns. In all actuality, you look at 2.5 gigahertz and its propagation, I'm just not really sure how exactly this is going to scale for them. They have not completed Band 71 yet. They're 600 megahertz. That's several years in the process. PCS and AWS still receiving upgrades to this day. There's a lot of Band 12 only sites. There's even a lot of Band 66 only sites. And that's why I wanted to mention this. There's a lot of network things that need to happen, and it's not just 2.5. So can 2.5 fix a lot of their congestion issues? Sure, but it doesn't really address their coverage issues. So we'll have to see what exactly happens there on that aspect of the network. So we shall see. The next piece of news, it's this one. Here we go, right there. This one's a big one. We have official confirmation. This article from Matthew Qais just came out, fresh off the press. T-Mobile will be announcing their long-time rumored TV streaming service. We can now confirm it. It looks like there are two unidentified sources that are saying that this is the case from Matthew Qais. So, and we saw the commercial. We saw the tweets from the CEO, Mike Sievert, and it was a lady screaming on her phone. It looked like she was holding her bill, maybe the home TV provider or something like that. So that's what our expectation is. So we already have confirmation from the leak of an FCC dongle. It's basically a T-Mobile branded Chromecast hardware. We also saw a remote control that made it to the FCC. So this announcement is coming Tuesday, October 27th. It will be part of a product keynote from T-Mobile. This is essentially an additional service on top of T-Vision's initiative. No word on pricing and availability from this rumor. I don't know. I guess there's going to be an Android TV powered device that's expected to go with the service and with these hardware items here. So the company that's actually making all this hardware is a company from China that actually makes the TiVo hardware, if you remember that technology. It will be supported on Apple TV, Roku, Fire Sticks. It'll probably be supported on pretty much everything. So look forward to that and seeing how that scales and what that means and what that service is going to be like. Next item here is actually from the FCC. So what I want to highlight here is we kind of have some news from the FCC. So this stems back over the summer. T-Mobile is being hit with a heavy FCC claim. They did not follow network best practices. This is actually coming from the FCC, stemming from a massive June outage. T-Mobile blamed network cables and fiber providers in certain regions. That turns out to be false. The FCC's chairman, Ajit Pai, has come out and disclosed that the outage is a quote-unquote failure of several established network reliability best practices, end quote. These practices may have prevented the outage, possibly, and at least mitigated the extent of the severity of the outage. The FCC investigation discovered an equipment failure that was also exaggerated by a network routing misconfiguration, and it was actually probably made even worse by a software flaw on the T-Mobile side, likely existing for months. And this is what led to the calling issues during this network outage time. The outage lasted over 12 hours, had 40% or more of the T-Mobile network calls failing, and the greatest issue there, I think, which is why the FCC is making a big deal about this, was the fact that 24,000 911 calls had failed. So no indication of a fine, but this is a follow-up to what the FCC chair said he was going to do, and just gives us confirmation that this may have been able to be prevented had T-Mobile had the correct configurations and other things, kind of, crossing your T's and dotting your I's. And I think hopefully they can fix these things and prevent them from happening in the future. There's going to be a lot of network integrations that are going to continue. Sprint customers are going to be migrated onto the T-Mobile network very soon. You don't want to see these things continue to happen. They only were giving people $5 credits. A lot of people are probably going to be churning. We'll get those results from the Q3 earnings very soon, just here in a couple of weeks. We'll see how many churned, and hopefully this will be prevented moving forward. Last story, and this one also, again, out of T-Mobile. Everything T-Mobile today. We now have official word from T-Mobile customers. Roaming agreements are now starting to be unavailable to T-Mobile customers. Users on the T-Mobile network formerly able to connect to U.S. Cellular and USA ComNet have lost the access and no longer can get access to those roaming availabilities of networks, no longer connecting to them. This is probably the worst time possible as they begin to decommission Sprint sites and make wholesale changes, as well as migrate Sprint customers onto T-Mobile network access with new SIM cards and so on. I think this is a big mistake. I think there's some things that T-Mobile probably should have considered before doing this. They should have at least formed some semblance of coverage in former roaming zones where they had agreements with partners. Again, this is probably going to explain why they're going to have high churn rate and why they probably have high churn rate in Q3. So I don't know. This is why I believe that the CapEx and the spending issues are going to persist. I really don't understand when you have these types of things going on, you've got to try to prevent your customers from leaving. They're the ones that are, giving you money for you to spend on your network, right? It's all part of business operations. You don't want them to flee. I think there's going to be a lot of customer losses to this. I think there's going to be an issue in a lot of cases in a lot of places across the country, very extended regions of the country. And honestly, this is why I have my doubts about T-Mobile being able to close the network gap between T-Mobile and AT&T and T-Mobile and Verizon. They simply are going to be having issues as they continue to have network gaps, and they're not effectively going to be dealing with them. So that's really my concern. I think their 2.5 gigahertz has potential to really be a game changer in speeds in areas where they deploy it. But there's no way that 2.5 gigahertz is going to address these extended areas where they lack tremendous amounts of coverage, and that is only going to get worse now that they're losing the access here for their customers on these roaming partners. So let me know what you think of this news. I don't know if you'll be affected by it. Please do report back. Check me out on Twitter, tweet at me, let me know if things are happening in your area to see who's affected. I hope that T-Mobile continues to build out and covers these areas with native coverage very soon. I just don't know how fast they'll be able to do it, and it's probably going to, make coverage in areas for certain T-Mobile customers, a very contentious proposition. I think people are going to be very disgruntled with this, and I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to go and leave to another carrier. They may come back or they may not, so it's a fine line that T-Mobile is going to be walking. tell me what you think about the FCC news. Tell me what you think about them announcing this new TV service, the streaming service. And then tell me what you think of that startup fund. I'd love to hear what you have to say. The voice of the people, the SMT Nation, let your voice be heard. Thank you again for tuning in. If you appreciated this video, please give it a like, share it to all your socials. You got Instagram, you got Twitter, you got Facebook, share it there. Thank you so much. Speaking of Twitter, check us out there. The @SneedTech Twitter handle is down in the description box. We also have the Patreon page, and we also have the podcast links. They're all there. And of course, if you've been lurking and you're not yet a subscriber, hit the subscribe button, activate the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload from the SMT. Again, thank you for watching. Thanks for taking this time to be here. I'm the SMT, and we'll catch you on the next video. Peace.